On the Wake Up Radio presents The Center with your host, DC Radical One.
Greetings, Black family, and welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. You can check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and now on OTW Tube, that is otwtube.com, as well as on the wakeupradio.com. BB488 you got ripped off. BB488 to Lordville. BB488 to Sister Vanessa. Greetings to our brother John. So we're gonna have a light discussion today because I have been as y'all can imagine busy putting together the lecture. Well, the lecture's done, but preparing some things, making sure that things are going well. Scheduling a rehearsal at the venue to make sure the stream and everything goes well, which is an important part of it. That's what derailed us last time, as you all know. And just getting ready to make sure that this event is a big event. We're expecting a pretty good live turnout. There's been a lot of interest. I put some flyers up at the venue, and all those flyers were gone, so I had to actually re-up on the flyers at the venue, which is a good sign. And for those of you who follow me on Instagram, you saw that they had decent turnout at an event that they had at Everlasting Life. Yesterday, I was up there yesterday with brother Genie. So BB488 to a BB488 man. So like I said, it's gonna be a light discussion. Just talk about a few things that are going on. And I think first things first, I do want to put up the flyer for the event. If y'all can see that, that's kind of not how I want it to look. I kind of want it to look like this. Greetings to Unique One Express. That's more like it. So again, as a reminder for those who know, and as information for those who know not, this Saturday, Straight Black Pride Movement will be celebrating their Dr. Francis Cress Welsing Day celebration. And this is something I think we started about 5 years ago. And then we didn't want to have conflict with another organization. So we did not have, we were not doing it annually, but I've decided we're going to do it annually, regardless of whatever other people are doing. So we had gone to other people's events and things like that, but we're just going to do what we do. So yeah, this doors will open at 2 p.m. The live stream will start at 2:30. Tickets are $20 via Eventbrite. It'll be at Everlasting Life Cafe, 9185 Central Avenue, Capitol Heights, Maryland, 20743. If you can, you might want to get there early if you're coming in person, because the parking situation is crazy out there. They're building something in the middle of the parking lot, and it has destroyed the parking situation. So this is definitely an event you want to come out to. I'm doing a lecture, the death and rebirth of the goddess Black woman. That is something that it's a lecture I did about 2 years ago. I had to update it, but I didn't have to update it that much because things haven't changed that much, at least not for the better. So we're going to be doing that again this Saturday. If you're not in the DMV area, you can purchase tickets for the live stream. You want to do that. There's something you don't want to miss. If you know how I am, if I don't like how, if the event's not 100% filmed correctly and everything's not correctly, I will not release the footage. So you got to be there, or else it's like it never happened and you have to wait till I go to another city, or I do it again next year in DC. So That is this Saturday, and we plan on having an excellent event. I'm trying to see what the weather will be like. Hopefully, the weather is good. We've had some pretty good weather here in the DMV lately, and so we will go on from that. And Sister Farnessa says people are ready to get out the house. I'm sure it'll be packed Saturday. I hope it is. We are the COVID restrictions have been lifted to the point where it's either 50% or 100% capacity in certain venues. So I have to figure that out because it's if you ever been to Everlasting Life, you know it's kind of a hybrid venue. So I have to ask the owner what's going on with that. And Lord Bill says, "Have you read the Osiris Papers?" No, actually, that book wasn't written by her. That was written by another brother, breaking down his analysis of her work and things like that. But that wasn't actually written by her. I actually have met the brother that wrote it, but I have not actually read the book. I'm not gonna lie. I'm behind in my reading as far as new books. Most of the time when I'm reading stuff, it's about um like I'm not even reading a lot of stuff about black authors right now. I'm reading a lot of stuff just dealing with situations that are going on that are affecting our community but aren't written by our scholars. So yeah, I haven't had a chance to read that. Still haven't had a chance to read the brother's book on Dr. Khaled either. So yeah, I'm behind with that, brother. BB48 man says, please touch on our people's obsession with Prince Harry and Megan Mulatto. Yeah, we'll get to that, brother. I don't. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. That is, I'm not even sure if it's our people. I think that may just be the sisters. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong with that, y'all correct me with that. So, one of the things I wanted to get into, and I have not actually put it up on the screen, is this. I don't know if you all have heard, but the president of Tanzania is currently missing. So, President Magufuli of Tanzania hasn't been seen in public for a while. There is a lot of speculation on his whereabouts. See if I can bring up this article, even though it's not exactly, how can I put it? It's not exactly the most objective article. I'll put it that way. But I'll see if I can put it up on screen in a minute. But this is a serious situation because Mr. Magufuli has been he's one of the leaders that has questioned the veracity of the story we've been told about COVID. And if you haven't been following, he is actually a trained scientist. And so he actually had some samples tested at an independent lab. And he had things that he had non-human tissue tested, right? Like fruit and all types of stuff. It was real wild when he talked about it. And it came back, like 4 to 5 samples came back positive for COVID, even though there wasn't human tissue. And then at that point, he decided that all the vaccines and all that stuff, he wasn't doing any of that until further investigation. And so, of course, the West have called him a COVID denier, and things like that. Things that don't. How the West does. They try to make you, once you are, once you, I guess, rebel against them, for lack of a better word, then they try to assassinate your character. And if they cannot assassinate your character, then we know what the next assassination will be. And so, peace to Brother Dawood. So currently, he has been missing. And so there is a lot of discussion about where he is. And I will read a little bit of this article since for whatever reason I can't seem to bring it up. It's one of those days. Not gonna lie, the extra hour I could have needed that. I could have used that extra hour of sleep that they stole from us. But it says that Tanzania's President John Magufuli is critically ill in a hospital in Kenya after contracting coronavirus, the threat which he has repeatedly trivialized, an opposition leader has said, citing sources with knowledge of the case. Right. Now, pay attention to the next part of this. Then it says the 61-year-old president suffered cardiac arrest and flew to a hospital in Nairobi for urgent treatment. Now, let's review, right? What was the first thing they said? The first thing that they said was that he's suffering from COVID complications. The second thing they said is he had cardiac arrest. What's wrong with this picture? It's conceivable that you had these two things, but more than likely, it's an either or thing because these are two different medical conditions. And so, obviously, someone is lying somewhere about what is going on. And you got ripped off, said, let's just hope he's in hiding against a coup. That is always a possibility. Right now, no one really has any idea what's going on. A lot of times in these African countries, the opposition, a lot of times the opposition or the government, one or the other is usually in bed with the West. So whichever one is in bed with the West, you have to take whatever they say with a grain of salt. In this case, the opposition is more than likely in bed with the West because obviously Mr. Magufuli was not in bed with the West the minute he decided to investigate this COVID thing. So this is a big deal for us because we have I know some sisters that have traveled there, and I've seen quite a few people online that have repatriated there, and so it has been a place that people have found. Actually, I know a brother too who repatriated there like 5 years ago. Now that I think about it, it's been a long time, but it's been a place of refuge for Africans in the West that want to return back to the motherland. And because of his stances and because of the climate, it's just a lot of positive things about it. And he's been, because of his stance, he's kind of been basically the strongest leader on the continent. So his condition and it has been a stable country too. So his condition and whatever may be going on is definitely important to Black people around the world, even though we may not recognize it. So that was something that caught my attention and that I really wanted to take a look at. I'm gonna read a little bit further in this, and this is from the BBC, by the way. So that's why I said this is not a objective source. Says another politician told Associated Press that he had spoken to people close to the president who said he was seriously ill and hospitalized. The politician asked to remain anonymous for fear of a backlash from Tanzania's repressive regime. Now, as I just said, I personally know people who have traveled there, and people who stayed there, and no one has said anything about repression. In fact, people have said they felt quite free. They've traveled throughout the country, traveled out the country and come back and then going on to do whatever they were going to do. And so it just goes to show how the Western media will slant and attack the image of someone they don't like and give what is basically gossip and hearsay, with no actual facts. Again, no one has said that they talked to someone that talked to him, or they talked to someone that talked to his wife, or they talked to someone in the family. All of this article is basically hearsay. So that's just something to look out for. Hopefully the brother's doing well. Um, and hopefully that they can maintain their strong stance against the vaccines, which really is the end game if we're paying attention. The goal, for those of you that saw my Africans versus everybody lecture, the end game is to try to get African people to take this vaccine, and we really have no idea what um, what the effects of the vaccine will be on Black people on the continent or here, because there's no guarantee that whatever vaccine we get is the vaccine that other people get. And, you know, if you ever read the book Medical Apartheid, then you understand what I'm saying. So, also, that brings us to another thing. Um, the legendary boxer from up near Boston, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, has recently transitioned. I started to say to the ancestral realm, but then I remember he married Urugu. So, yeah, he did not transition to the ancestral realm. He has passed on. He's no longer with us. But what was interesting, and someone sent this to me either last night or early this morning, if I can find it. His legendary opponent, Thomas the Hitman Hearns out of Detroit, has stated that he developed complications and got ill after taking the vaccine. So I found that interesting because that is the second major Black man sports figure who has died in the wake of taking the vaccine. Of course, Hank Aaron took it, and then I think he passed within a week, if I'm not mistaken, of taking it. And so I just found it interesting that Thomas the Hitman Hearns, who was his one of his most fiercest rivals, and if you ever seen that fight, if you like boxing at all, that's one of the most um, one of the greatest fights in boxing history. So it's interesting that he would be the one to bring that up. And so, um, that's interesting. Again, that's something we have to look into, see if we can verify the information that was put forward. But it is very, it's something we have to look at as Black people and really make a decision what our stance is going to be as far as taking this vaccine. And you got ripped off says first shot is the inactive agent and the second shot is the activator. Yeah, I'm not even sure how this thing's supposed to work. I'm considering the history that we've had with these people, I just can't take anything that they say at face value because you know these are our opponents. And it's interesting because Dr. Welsing in her book, she talked about chemical and biological warfare, and she recommended a book. I believe the name of the book is A Higher Form of Killing, and she recommended that book in her book, The ISIS Papers. And that's something that I actually was looking for, the higher form of killing book, but I know it deals with ways to eliminate or limit populations without actually having to fight people. So that's something we have to look into. We really need our own scientists to help us. I mean, we need our own everything. We need our own scientists, think tanks, everything, because the type of warfare that Black people are going to be facing is going to be next level warfare. Straight Black pride to Sister Nina. Glad you could join us. And Greetings to Brother Kote Crow. And he says that Minister Farrakhan and the nation is taking a strong stance against these vaccines. Yeah, I heard that. I heard that they had a pretty good presentation that was yeah, maybe it's 2 weeks ago. You can help me with the date, brother. I'm not sure the actual date, and that it was well crafted and excellent information contained within that. So if anyone um you can well, I'm not sure where you can check that out, brother. You can put in the chat where you can check it out, because I'm not sure. I know everyone is being censored when it comes to this stuff and getting this stuff taken down off of YouTube and whatnot, so I'm not even sure how to get access to it. Oh, I want to shout out real quick. I believe this you got ripped off with the Cash App, the $25 donation. Thank you for that, brother. Always hate to say it, but always needed, always on time. Because as a brother once told me that's been doing the work for almost 30 years, freedom ain't free, you know. So that's one of those things. Also, another thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm gonna try to find this clip. I wasn't thinking about it, but um Mike Brown's father, uh he basically said that he needs to get some of that $90 million that Black Lives Matter had collected, basically off the backs of the death of his son. And there was a video going around, but I did not capture it. So unfortunately, I'm gonna be trying to find it live as we speak. But I found it interesting, excuse me, that he called them out and stated that, hey, you owe us. And he had some programs and things that I mean, they had programs and things outlined of what they would do with the money. It was very it was a strong message. It was well crafted. It was on time, and the reality of the situation is they should get the money, plain and simple. Now we know and we understand that the people that involved in Black Lives Matter and everything have absolutely no um, desire to give any money to anyone other than themselves, and so that's going to be interesting. That's something we need to watch out for, and we need to actually see. We might actually want to see is that brother what their stance is on um certain policies and politics and what they may be doing. We may be able to reach out to them and make an alliance of sorts. He has some good programs and things that they were outlined, and they are apparently they already have brothers and sisters, excuse me, who are doing the work in the area, because it's not like the area magically changed. And most of the money that was made went to people who aren't doing the work. And we can't forget that a lot of the activists that were there were mysteriously murdered. And I didn't know that there were still brothers that was incarcerated that were doing the work. So that is something we have to look out for. I apologize for not having a video. I didn't even think about it till just now, but that's definitely a situation we should look out for. And I just haven't been able to find the clip, despite I had looked for it earlier in the week, then couldn't find it, and then forgot about it because I really didn't know what. I had no idea what I was going to talk about this week because I was so focused on the lecture. And Brother Lord Bell says all that money should go into making the hoods better, not charity. I don't trust a lot of the charities. Well, I mean, to me, the major, well, number one, let's be honest, the people who receive the money have no interest in black people or black liberation. Um, that's number one. Number two, they have no connection to the hood. Number three, they have no they have no infrastructure to even be able to manage that money and to put it to good use. Right. So I mean, we brother Jenny has been trying to warn people about Black Lives Matter, or as the brother said, gay lives matter, gay and lesbian movement, which is what it is. He's been trying to warned people about them for years. The brother King D Seals had did an interview with Jeannie, and he told him everything of how it went down and how they came out of nowhere and started tweeting and telling people what was going on, but not actually doing the work. And then claiming the reward in essence, and how Soros and other people came in with money and they dropped all this money on these people and everything. It should be a well-known story by now, but it's possible that people still don't know how everything went down and how the homophiles came in and flipped the script on black liberation. And there's in fact, I have a clip that is in the lecture that kind of deals with that. It doesn't deal with the Mike Brown situation directly, but it deals with how GLM how they utilize the deaths of black men to further their agenda. So yeah, that we'll touch on that Saturday. It's not a major point in the discussion, but it is something we will touch on because one thing I learned, as actually my mother said this to me a long time ago. It's a lot of times I think people know stuff because I've known it and I've known it for years. But my mother she said to me one time, she was like, "Don't nobody know that but you and your people." So whenever I think people know something, I always go back to that. Her telling me, "Don't nobody know that but me and quote unquote my people." Um, Let's see. Lord Bell says irritated Jeannie warned me, so I definitely did donate to BLM. And I'm glad you were aware of that. And you got ripped off, said 12 viewers, 8 likes. Hit the like button and or share to your social media accounts. Thank you, brother. Yeah, please share to your social media. Just let people know we are here. We're pretty much here every Sunday, sometimes Saturday nights. What I want to do is I still gotta find some sisters for this colorism show that I want to do. That's something I've been wanting to do for a minute. I actually had some sisters lined up for it, but as time goes on, people get into different things and you start losing contact with people. And you got ripped off. It says, as well as the opportune conscious pimp. we'll let people figure out who you're talking about there. We know. You ain't gotta say it, but we know. Yeah. People have, man, when I think about this whole Mike Brown situation and this whole, man, they really, in a very sophisticated way, when I think about it, snuffed out and changed up what could have been a strong movement for young people, not only for young people, but by young people, and took and redirected it into some complete and total nonsense. And I ain't gonna lie, they did it. It was very effective how they did it. And it just goes to show that the level of COINTELPRO, the 21st century version of COINTELPRO, is a lot even more sophisticated than what we dealt with 50, 60 years ago, I guess. Because now you have whole movements springing up and taking over the whole scene and redirecting out people's minds in a totally different direction. And people can't the masses of people who don't really know what's going on, especially the young people that don't study, they have no idea the difference between real race work and you know stuff that would be revolutionary and the stuff that Black Lives Matter does. Like I don't even, I hate to say it, but we're so lost as far as having a lack of identity that I don't even think it occurs to a lot of people that you can actually do work and improve your community yourself. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is that Black people could simply help Black people to be better. Like, I don't think that concept really, I don't think young people get that concept too much. And because I don't think if you haven't, depending on where you grew up, when you grew up, you haven't seen it. And so the actual idea of Black people doing something for themselves, it appears to be a foreign concept, which is very dangerous because, of course, if you're not helping yourself, then someone else is helping themselves to you. So, um, right now we're in a tough situation. Brother Ronnie Williams says, "You're right. BLM confuses so many young people. They don't even understand the work that has to be done." Right? Yeah, and it's unfortunate. And I think that they mistake. You know, there's a European that has a saying, and it's one of my favorite sayings. It's probably my favorite saying to European that any European has ever said. And he said, "Do not mistake activity for achievement." And I think many times our people, we do, that's exactly what we do when it comes to these protests and things like that. People come out and, they do the protests and they out there dancing and singing and having a good time more so than anything else. And they believe that that activity means that something will change. And then when the next person is killed and you have to have another protest, they, I would think eventually they'd be like, wait a minute, hold up. Nothing is happening here. Maybe we need to make try a different approach. And it's interesting because I saw a YouTube video from a sister and she was talking about the difficulties, and I've spoken about this before, of how nowadays it's easy to mobilize Black people, meaning it's easy to get a bunch of Black people together to come out for an event, come out for a protest, come out for a rally. Something happens, everyone sees it, goes all over social media, everyone gets angry, everyone gets emotional, and you say, "Hey man, show up at so and so and we're gonna protest." And people come out. People come out sometimes in the thousands, right? But to actually organize people and to take that energy into something that is constructive, where you apply constant effort and pressure, is a heck of a lot more difficult. And from what I've seen, there have been very few. I've seen very few, just from my observation. Not saying they don't exist. I've seen very few young people who have been able to, or been no. Here's the word I'm looking for: willing to put sustained, effort into organization. Everybody's down for mobilization, but organization is a different situation altogether. Let's see. Lord Bell says, "Some people my age and younger believe that our people can evolve without the help of other races, sometimes using the Black Panthers as an example." Yeah. I knew you bring up the Panthers. And no one even looks at or thinks about the fact that it's possible that the Panthers' involvement with other people helped their downfall. Like, no one takes that thought into consideration, because especially you start taking money from other people, which they needed, because the way the government was attacking them was to drain them economically, where they would keep locking up leaders and keep locking up leaders, and you have to keep getting lawyers, you have to keep getting bail and all these types of things. And so you get into those situations where suddenly you're dependent on enemies. So It's one of those things. Brother Ronnie says, easy to mobilize, hard to organize. Black people are. Indeed. You sound like Master Yoda from Star Wars on that one. And the brother says, what are my views on NFAC? To be completely honest, I don't know enough about them to make an educated opinion. So I don't, you know, I don't have a view. Um, I respect what they were trying to do, and I believe that the show of force that they put forth was definitely beneficial. But I don't know enough about the inner workings. I don't know enough about the ideology or any of those things to, and I don't even know enough about the leader to say what um, to have a true opinion on the organization. I mean, I've seen a lot of different things, but I don't know anyone personally that knows him. I know some people that know some people that know him, right? So with that, I can't even say. So when I truly don't know, I don't speak about it. And that y'all know, if you listen to my show, I don't really like to comment on a lot of people who may be in the movement, because I believe that. Well, no, I don't believe. I know that straight black pride is um, different from anyone else, because of our open stance when it comes to the black family structure and traditional black family, and taking a stance against homophilia and pedophilia. So I haven't seen any other groups or organizations or institutions who are willing to take that stance. And so, I kind of just let people do what they do. For Dr. Welton talked about, all areas of people activity. If there's a group that wants to take a stance and form a military formation in defense of black people, then I'm all for that. Um, and if they're taking a stance against homophilia, I'm all for it even more. So, like, for example, I don't even know their stance on that. So that's another reason I don't speak on it, because I don't know if they're actually opposed or they have taken no stance at all, which most people do. They don't take a stance, and so we kind of let them leave them where they are. If they reach out to us for things like that, then it's something we can discuss, because something that happens to me a lot, and I guess I don't, even though I have the straight black pride flag up in my social media, I have different people trying to get me to like support their groups or reach out to me about maybe working together, things like that. But here's a reality situation, and I'm gonna have to put this on all my social media to answer the question once and for all, so people don't keep asking. If your organization, your group is not willing to publicly take a stance against the homophile assault, chances of us working together are just very slim, very slim at all. Like, not much at all. You know what I'm saying? Just because that's the core of what we are, and you know, it is what it is. Let's see. We got Brother Awu says, one thing we suffer is lack of effective black people in government positions or influential organizations. Our politicians do nothing for us, and the ones that do get removed or are not reelected. That's definitely the at this point, the whole concept of changing changing things from the inside, or whatever, inside the system, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, that's a concept that's just, that's by the boards. At this point, like I said, any person that is in those positions, they may think about doing that. It's quickly neutralized. And so it's just, it is what it is. Lord Bell says, hold up, not Lord Bell, my bad. You got ripped off says, when you have ex SBPM supporters that still praise Big Impact, that they are diametrically opposed to the SBPM mission. Hmm. I haven't can't say that I've seen it. The whole, you know, Tupac is an interesting character because it's someone that grew up in the movement, someone that had a lot of knowledge, and I just think he got caught up in a situation where I think he was trying to reach the people by stooping to the level of the people, and that's very dangerous. And I can speak from experience because um, you can get yourself to the point where you lose your principles and you lose your vision. And so, Tupac made a lot of mistakes in his life. And as for Christopher Wallace, I mean, you know, if you go back and listen to some of those lyrics, he said some things that were very questionable when it comes to a man's masculinity and manhood, and kind of opened the door for us in a way of accepting him, DMX. I mean, there's a lot of rappers had some questionable stuff, accepting aspects of homophilia, which like there's something we don't talk about enough. But if you've been around long enough, you remember when uh, some brothers that were formerly incarcerated or even still incarcerated, or brothers in the hood or whatever, when people were making justification for homophilia by saying that they were on the giving end and not the receiving end. Speaking of which, reminds me, um, Mr. C, former DJ for former DJ for BB4 man, if you in there, help me out. I just draw a blank. For Big Daddy Kane, Mr. C, he was on I I can't remember what he was on, but he has now openly said, or openly admitted, excuse me, because people have known for a while, openly admitted that he enjoys being pleasured by men in dresses. So um, that was something that everyone knew has been like public knowledge, and yet he went and talked about it, and you know, man, you know, I just don't understand. I'm just be completely honest, I'm being as honest as I can be without getting the channel shut down before we do the event. I don't understand, man, how a man would think that a man in a dress in any capacity can take the place of a woman, a natural black woman. Like, I don't, there has to be something there that because I mean, he was open, and then he was very explicit about what he likes from them. And I just I don't understand. I don't want to understand. I don't get it. It's just very, when he came out and he started talking about it, I didn't even watch the whole clip. That's probably why I want to bring it up. But it was just like, wow, this is crazy. So, but it's one of those things where, yeah, he said it. Oh, BB40 man said it was Mano's podcast. Okay. Yeah, I'm not even familiar. I know Mano, but I didn't know he had a podcast. I guess everyone has one now. But yeah, him coming out and saying that was just like, okay, I guess everybody's just gonna come out now because there is no closet. The doors have been ripped off and the closet's been burnt down, so there's no closet for people to be in. Lord Bell says, my barber believes that black people only way to freedom is through politics. I responded that that's sad, and he got emotional. I'm assuming that your barber is older. You can let me know if your barber is older or younger. Yeah, I mean, to seek to get free of the system through the mechanisms of the system doesn't make logical sense. But it is what it is. And the brother says Hebrew Israelites such as ISUPK are taking a strong stance against homophile assault. even though their religious doctrine, uh, oh, say you disagree with the religious doctrine, but they are taking a stand. Yeah, we had Brother Jenny had done some collaboration with can't even think of the brother's name now, but a brother from ISUPK a few years ago, and you know, we were trying to work on some things, but um, things happen. You they have some, how can I put it? They have some racially questionable people in their ranks, and so that's just, it is what it is. They of course, they do not believe they're African, if I'm not mistaken. And like I said, they have some people in their ranks who are, I'm not sure what they are. So yeah. And Lord Bell says Barbara's in his late 30s. Yeah, that okay. Yeah, no, that's not, you know. If you had said he was in the 60s, I could understand. You said he's in his 30s. Okay. Anyway. Um and Sister Vanessa said, just the other day I heard several grown men with grandchildren say that they don't have an issue with male comedians, actors dressing like women because they're getting paid. They also said they didn't believe males clothing. Wait, hold on. Males dressing in women's clothing was emasculating black men. So, um, uh, hmm, that's disappointing. So basically, these gentlemen were fine with black men being whores for Hollywood. Because if you say that you're fine with someone doing something as long as they get paid, then you're fine with someone being a whore. Because whenever you are willing to throw away your principles for money, that's what you are. It's not just a sexual thing. And if you're a man willing to put on a dress, you 10 steps closer to bending over for another man than you were before you put that dress on. So yeah, good luck with that. That ain't emasculization. I don't know what it is. Yeah, sister said, Captain Tazariak. Indeed, Captain Tazariak. Thank you, sister. You got ripped off. Says, speaking of logic, you represent. Hold up. You say highly suggest debate between Omawali Africa and Logic Supreme. I know who Omawali Africa is. I have no idea who Logic Supreme is. Topic of discussion was, can reparations be gotten without Pan Africanism? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not a big debate person because you know, I just I just feel like this it's gonna sound completely arrogant, but the John Henry Clark principle is in effect. You know what I'm saying? Debate equals all others you teach. If you can't even figure out that if you can't figure out that if you came from a place, you were something, and just because you came across the border you didn't become something else, then hey, you were African when you got on the boat, you're African when you got off. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even, I'm not saying people shouldn't check it out because I didn't see it, so I can't speak on it. But I'm beyond at this point even debating with people. Once someone tells me they don't want to be African, I'm like, fine. I just put them in the European bag. For me, there's Africans and there's Europeans, or Africans and non-Africans. So there's family and enemies. And that's how it is. By the way, because I haven't said this yet, and my wonderful producer is not here, be sure to check me out on social media. The social media handles are running along the bottom. The Instagram is dc.radical, the numeral one. That's dc.radical, the numeral one. The Twitter is DC underscore radical underscore ONE. That's DC underscore radical underscore ONE. This, of course, is the YouTube, capital D, small c, radical, the numeral one. The email, dc.radical underscore, the numeral one, at protonmail.com. And also, if you would like to support financially, like You Got Ripped Off has done multiple times, as well as others. The Cash App is $DC Radical, the number one. That's all one word ran together. This $DC Radical, the number one. So, I'm see what else. What? Oh, Meghan Markle. Right, right. I was supposed to address that. Um, it's interesting. The first time I saw her was on a show on USA Network, and I remember looking at her and thinking, "Hmm, this white girl must have some black in her." And I had no idea who she was at the time. She was just another Hollywood actress. I didn't When I looked at her, I didn't even think she was a mulatto. I thought she was. I didn't know what she was. I thought maybe she had like 1/8 black in her or something. So all of this was way before she married into that family. What is that? What is their name? What, are they the House of Windsor? Somebody help me out with that. I don't even feel like calling them the so-called. Uh, yeah, I guess I'll say so-called royals. And that's what I'll call them. But way before she married into that family, I saw her. My brother Dawood says the show was called Suits. Right, right, okay. Yeah, that's it, Suits. It's funny because I think I watched literally one episode. And so I just saw her, thought she was kind of, and the brother said the House of Sussex or House of Essex. I don't know. We figured it out. But yeah, those folks. But it's really telling. And I had started to do the show, but I couldn't get all the clips and stuff I wanted. I started to do the show on the seduction of the black woman into bedwitchery. I'm sure that would be controversial, irritate some people. Probably still do it later on when I have time after the lecture. But yeah, the the Disneyfication, as I heard somebody say, of relationships and the idea of marrying a prince and that whole thing that sisters grow up with that brothers don't even most brothers, if you grow up doing masculine things, the whole idea just goes by you. You don't even think about it. A lot of times you don't even watch these movies when you're growing up. But sisters will grow up watching these movies and this stuff is implanted in their head. And we don't even realize that. I think a lot of us we just miss the fact that these Disney movies with the Disney princess and marrying the white dude coming to rescue them and all this stuff, going back to like Snow White and what's the other one with seven doors? Y'all know what I'm talking about. All that stuff. We forget this stuff is like, I think those first movies were made like 70 years ago or something. I mean, this stuff is really old. Those old Disney movies, and that trope has been continued. And I think that affects the minds of a lot of sisters. And seeing, seeing someone who, and it is interesting, seeing someone who normally sisters would not accept as a representation of black womanhood. They accept Meghan Markle in this situation. And then she says, oh, there's racism there. Then suddenly they empathize with her. And it's very interesting how that dynamic works. Because a lot of sisters who are co-signing it and that like her and talking about this stuff are the same sisters that if one of the brothers in Straight Black Pride if we were to bring her to an event, the brother says the Duke of Sussex and the House of Windsor. Okay, yeah, I thought House of Windsor. Okay. if one of the brothers from Straight Black Pride would have bring someone who looked exactly like Meghan Markle to an event, the first thing that these same women would say is, "See, I told you them conscious dudes was fake. They don't really like black women, blah, 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 blah." But in this case, you take a quadroon or wherever she may be. Because I said, when I looked at a little bit of the interview, and I mean, she is like, I don't remember her looking that European. She just looked like a white woman with tan and freckles. I was like, man, I didn't know she was that light. I knew she was light, but not that. I mean, she just looked like a white woman with a tan in the interview. When they showed her up close, it weirded me out. So I'm like, I don't know if she was using some type of tanner or well, I don't know what's going on. But for our women to identify with that woman as representation of blackness is very interesting, considering how those same sisters would normally talk bad about a brother if he were to bring that same woman to an event, the family cookout, or whatever the case may be. BB488 2777 9311. Let's see. Brother Dawood says she married into a family whose crimes against Native peoples and Africans goes back hundreds of years. Exactly. So that's why I don't even understand BB488 man says she's as white as a toilet bowl. She definitely looked at it in that the video that I saw. I'm like, what, they've been hiding her in a cave somewhere so she can get whiter, or what is going on? I know her mother's light skinned. I don't know. Anybody know if her mother's mixed? Because I saw her mother look like she could be mixed, and her father is 100% Yoruba. And Lord Bell says the quote unquote royal family thought that Megan's baby was going to be dark. Shake my head. She is mixed, not full black, and that baby is not going to have. Is going to have not tan, just the ignorance of Yoruba. Well, if I'm not mistaken, and somebody can look this up, if I'm not mistaken, she's tangentially related to them. So this whole thing may just be a ruse, to cover up other pertinent things that are taking place, because it's definitely taking our people's eye off the ball as far as things that we should be looking out for. And but I could have sworn I heard that she's distantly related to them, and we know that these types of high level families tend to be inbred. So that in itself is something that we need to talk about. And I got a Cash App from Trey Willie. So BB for Hodier and Asante Sana for that. With the big 2-5 and the Cash App, greatly appreciated. Much needed. We do have a new Sister Vanessa just said, I read too that her father was related to the Windsors. Okay. And her brother says, you're right, she's distantly related to the family. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, because they make it like, they literally tell the story like she was just standing around at some type of function, and then he saw her and walked up to her and swept her off her feet. And I think that is totally fabricated. But it's a good story that our women would get into and like. And, as I said on another show, I can't remember, but at least I thought I said this. Maybe I said it in private conversation. Y'all can tell me. But the whole concept, I got to do this show. That whole concept of the rich European male sweeping a black woman off her feet, that really got popularized with that TV show Scandal. I didn't really see sisters really buying into that before that show. Now, sisters, y'all help me out because y'all were around other women. Before that, was that really a thing? Or was it a thing? And as a man, I just missed it, because it's like when that show came out, it's like all of a sudden this undercover hidden love for Yurugu was manifested, and the days of worshiping Urugu on the wall as Jesus, we shall say, the days of worshiping JC are over, but the days of worshiping the actual Urugu that's walking around, um, those are still continuing. And we saw that manifest in um, with that situation in what city was that? But that situation with the Jason Roger Pope case, and I talked about that. Did a whole show on that around the time that case was came to light, and that case still hasn't been adjudicated. By the way, I was looking it up. That thing still hasn't been adjudicated. Oh, speaking of things that haven't been adjudicated, um, I just saw that $27 million, a $27 million settlement, and I believe that's the right number. Was a $27 million settlement was awarded to the family of George Floyd. So, and of course, the case, the trial, I believe, is just starting, and so it appears that they are going to pay out the family beforehand, and you know what that means. If they're paying people beforehand, then that means that they're probably not going to be prosecuted to the highest extent of the law. Sister Farnessa says, I only knew of one black woman that wanted a white man, and she and I are no longer friends. Yeah, you didn't even have to ask the part that y'all are no longer friends. That as soon as you said that, I already knew the outcome of that relationship. So yeah, this is according to the Minneapolis Star Tribune. Let's see if I can go to that real quick. Minneapolis Star Tribune. Minneapolis to pay record $27 million settlement to settle the lawsuit with George Floyd's family. Sorry about that. I'll read this quickly. Minneapolis leaders on Friday agreed to pay a record $27 million to settle a lawsuit brought by George Floyd's family, closing the civil case just as the murder trial for one of the ex-officers accused of killing him is about to begin. This is a message that the unjust taking of black life will no longer be written off as trivial, unimportant, or unworthy of consequences, said attorney Benjamin Crump during a news conference Friday afternoon. The family's legal team voiced hope that the agreement will push policymakers across the country to institute policing reforms to avoid having to write large checks for law enforcement misconduct. Mr. Floyd's death on a Minneapolis street corner triggered worldwide protests over racism and police brutality and has already changed laws on police procedures in Minneapolis and beyond. Here's something that's interesting, right? The payout surpasses the previous $20 million record for Minneapolis. That sum was awarded in 2019 in the case of Justine Rougechick Diamond. Man, look, I don't know. I see a bunch of Z's and C's in this. A white woman killed by a black officer after she reported a possible assault in a nearby alley. So, I don't know if y'all remember that case. And I'm not talking about the George Floyd case. Everyone remembers that. I'm talking about the fact of the other case where the black officer, they were coming up and it was a dark alley. They were investigating something. She runs up out the dark, bangs on the glass. The officer she startles him. Gun goes off. She's killed. And they give her $20 million, and they give the black officer, who I believe was a brother from Somalia, I believe they gave him like 10 years. So it's going to be real interesting to compare what goes on as far as this case, where that was something where just just one, it's one of those unfortunate things. I think, you're up, it's middle of the night, it's dark, you run up to the police and start banging on on the glass, and you startle them, and you know something happens. That was, it's obvious that that was unintentional. Whether you think he should have been the prosecutor or whatever, it's obvious it was unintentional, as opposed to the situation where George Floyd, where the man was murdered slowly over 10 minutes in cold blood for the whole world to see. You got ripped off says, meanwhile, Breonna Taylor's murder has gone silent, as well as Sister Tatiana Jefferson. Remind me of Sister Tatiana Jefferson, because that's not, I'm drawing a blank on that now. It's so unfortunate, but I mean, they murdered so many of our people that you just start getting, you start forgetting people. And then, of course, it takes them so long to, adjudicate these cases that you can forget what is happening, because it goes by a year and a half, things like that, and you just completely forget the case. You forget the person. Things happen. Of course, we had the whole this whole COVID thing has gone on for the last year, and you just completely forget about it. Okay, here we go. Right. Okay. Tatiana Jefferson, black woman killed by police in Fort Worth, and they sued the city and the ex-officer. Relatives of a Tatiana Jefferson, 28-year-old black woman, fatally shot by a Fort Worth, Texas police officer in her home through her window. Right. I forgot about that. Right. Yeah, that's been, let's see, that was in November. So that's been about 4 or 5 months. And I'm sure, because I can't find anything more recent, so that hasn't been adjudicated yet. And like you said, yeah, that's something that our people are going to forget. And Sister Vanessa says, if you have the complexion for the protection and you're the police, you're going to walk. And if you're on what some people call the coincidental list, you're going to jail. And I don't think we can disagree with that. We just have the evidence that 2 cases in the same city. So that's why I said it'll be interesting to see what they do in this George Floyd case. I have a feeling, I wouldn't put any money on it. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that someone is going to have to do some jail time for this case because it's so big. They're going to sacrifice someone. I've only seen them sacrifice somebody in the not police one time in a major case, and that was, of course, in Jasper, Texas, when our great ancestor, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, just decided to show up and tell them that we're going to get justice one way or the other. The choice is yours on how that takes place. And so that's the last time I've seen them sacrifice one of their own in order to maintain order. I believe that is a possibility that that will take place again. In this case, it may be something where the officer receives some years, but nothing near the level that he should when in what was a blatant and open, just a blatant murder for no reason whatsoever. And Sister Vanessa says there were 2 cops in Louisiana that got 40 years a piece for killing a 6-year-old that had the complexion for the protection, who was in the car with his father, who tried to ram the cops with his car. Wow. Okay. Wow. I hadn't heard anything about that. Yeah. Just goes to show that, as we know already, there are indeed not one but 2 justice systems. There's a justice system and an injustice system. And the sister says we need an army of Dr. College. And unfortunately, don't have a clone facility. Um, because yeah, we do. Um, right now, we would be hard pressed to produce an army of men that like women. We're struggling with masculinity right now, and we talked about earlier. So bad that China is they want to do something about their waning masculinity. So things are bad. Um, when a country that's considered the second superpower of the world saying that it's not enough manhood in the country. So real quick, we're gonna go back and make this announcement again. Again, this Saturday, what 6 days from now, 5 days from now, um, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing Day celebration featuring a lecture by someone I know well, the death and rebirth of the goddess Black woman. Doors open at 2 p.m. Live stream starts 2:30. Tickets are $20 via Eventbrite. It'd be at Everlasting Life Cafe, 9185 Central Avenue, Capitol Heights, Maryland, 20743. And as I said before, we have more tickets available than we had previously for the event in person. And so, hope you all will either come out and or support via the live stream. We have upgraded some technology, and hopefully that will serve us well with that. And Sister Vanessa says, I hope the brothers on the inside greets whoever is convicted with the greetings that Jeffrey Dahmer received when he was inside. And all we can say to that is Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Oh, that's all we'll say to that. Any other news stories that y'all know of or want to talk about real quick? I guess I'll go to 4 o'clock or an hour and a half. This whole day has, not gonna lie, this whole losing 1 hour of sleep has kind of thrown me off. So, um, the whole time shift of Urugu messing around with this thing, kind of, yeah, it's funny. Stuff's coming, but still, you're still affected by it. And it's just one of those things. But is any other stories, any other happenings going on in the Black community that you all want to talk about? And for those of you who follow me on social media, you got to see Everlasting Life's what they call it, Black Wall Street Renaissance. Put that up to for people to see what was going on, had vendors out, things like that, all Black businesses inside a Black business. So you get a chance, go to the Instagram and check that out. You can get the Instagram, it's dc.radical1. And I need to post that on my Twitter. I'm gonna do a terrible job as far as managing my Twitter account. Kind of limited to two social medias. That's all I can do efficiently at this point. While I'm preparing for other things, and we're trying to ramp up. We're getting ready to ramp up our activities since it looked like the country will be open. One of the things I want to do, I want to take some of these lectures on the road and do them in other cities and do some organizing in other cities. Is what I wanted to do. Is what I had planned to do last year before the COVID thing. So since it looked like things are opening up, had an opportunity to do that. Sister Vanessa says, will Eli move to the new building this year? I don't even know, sister. I have no idea. I haven't talked to Doc about that recently. So I don't know. It seems like the people that are building and rehabbing the area are more interested in building, I believe, what some type of government facility in that parking lot more so than they are with the mall itself. So I'm not really sure how that's going to work out as far as the time frame. I don't know. I'm not even sure Doc knows. 'Cause I remember talking to him about it one time, seemingly like 2 or 3 months ago, and he didn't have an answer. So I don't know if he's had any updates, or I'm not sure how that's going to work, to be completely honest with that. So it's one of the things we'll see. I know one thing: everyone will be glad when they finish doing whatever they're doing, because they have completely destroyed the parking in that area and made it more difficult for the businesses that are there to thrive in an environment where a lot of people are already struggling economically, business wise, with you know everything that's been going on. Um, so no one, nothing else, no one at all. BB48 man, you have nothing. Sister Fana says, you'll be happy when they do. Oh yeah, finished up. Yeah, the parking lot. It's, yeah, it's just crazy. Really, they should reimburse the business owners that are still there economically, but I doubt very seriously that'll happen, even though it should, because it's a great inconvenience. It's something that they. I can't speak for other cities, but DC and the DC area seems to have a habit of that, where they have some major building project, and they just, if there happen to be black businesses in their area, I mean, they really just don't take any they don't take any consideration for those businesses. They just, you know, they just build whatever they build, destroy whatever they're going to destroy, and you happen to be there. Hopefully you're still there when more people come. Um, and sister said Magafuli. Yeah, we talked about Magafuli earlier. I don't know, 773 79311. I don't know if you were on. That's we started with an article on him that I said the article was more hearsay than facts. So we don't have any actual facts about his location. They're rumors and innuendo. So we talked about that at the beginning of the show. Uh, Brother Dawood says he believed they're building some type of medical facilities. Okay, and where E Life is. Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure. I've heard a bunch of different rumors about what is there, but you know, it's a convenience. I said, excuse me, it's an inconvenience, nonetheless. Oh, yeah, quickly. This is it's kind of a personal thing, but if you're from DC, somewhat of a big deal. But it's not really relevant to anything serious. But the Georgetown Hoyas, coached by legendary player Patrick Ewing, they won the Big East tournament. Uh, I have family that graduated from that university, so um, that was a personal, excuse me, interest to me. When I was a small boy, we used to go to those games in the old arena, the Capitol Center. So I got to see people like Patrick Ewing play when he was in college, and I was, man, I don't know how young I was, but yeah. So congratulations to Patrick Ewing for being able to put that together. The Equality Act bill. Oh, yeah, I didn't prepare for that. I might have to do a YouTube video on that. I might have to do a YouTube video on that because we only got about 5 minutes. That's a little bit deep to get into at this point. But yeah, that definitely has to be talked about. If you follow me on and I believe you follow me on Instagram, brother, remind me to say do YouTube video on Equality Act. and then might have to do a whole show on it, which means I actually have to review the whole bill because I know about it, but I haven't looked all the way through it because those bills, even if you know what's in it, when you look in it, there's always something else in it that you didn't know was in it. And I remember it wasn't John Lewis. Was it Charlie Rangel? It was one of those black congressmen, and he was talking about that they don't even read these bills all the way through. So that just goes to show how crazy this government system is, that people who are in Congress who vote for this stuff don't even read the entire bill themselves. And they pay someone to read it, but I don't think any one person actually reads the bill because a lot of times they put this stuff together and the thing is like the encyclopedia. So you can't even have one person read through it in the time that they begin to send the bill to Congress and people get the ad and taking away stuff and then they send it out to vote and all that. Yeah, it's real crazy how that works. You got ripped off says BB40 and straight black pride. I gotta dig my car out of 2 feet of snow and get to the plantation in a blizzard. Brother, salute to you. That's why I do not live on top of a mountain like you do. And live near a swamp. Literally, DC is built on top of swampland. But yeah, you said check out HR 8791, which I believe is the same bill that the brother said, and the CDC putting out a zombie protocol. I forgot about that. Yeah, I gotta look at that again. Yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, you be careful out there in that weather, brother. That is, yeah, that's why I don't live there. Be honest, and not that many good black people like yourself there either, from what I understand. So yeah. Sister Vanessa says they have their own pork in those bills, so they don't care what's in the bills as long as what they want is in there. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's how that works. Unique One Express says they should have finished with the project there already. It's been in the works since forever. If whoever's working on construction, they want it to be complete, they'll make a way. I mean, a lot of people get paid by the hour. So yeah, extend the hours. Sister Vanessa says, I see they have a lot of condos going for sale in DC, or a lot of folks moving out of DC or something. Well, here's what's kind of going on in the city. For about 15 years now, they've been gentrifying the city, and there's been an influx of people from other places coming into the city. So that's why now the black population has gone from approximately 85%, maybe around the year 2000, to about 45% now. They push most of the black people out with the cost of living. But what I've noticed recently is that many of the condos and things that they built aren't, they're at less than full capacity. The pricing of some of these apartments and stuff is just astronomical. It's crazy. So some of these new apartments they're building, they're going for Manhattan prices. They're comparable to Manhattan prices. You ever look for an apartment in Manhattan? You know what I'm talking about. We're talking about sometimes $3,000-$4,000 for a 1-bedroom. And I believe what is taking place is when you had that economic slowdown, I'm starting to notice different parts of the city. Business are starting to close in different parts of the city. Many people aren't actually physically coming to work in the city. And so businesses that are connected to that are suffering. And so I think that if it's not already happened, you will see a slowing of the population and moving into the actual city itself. And it would be real interesting to see how that is addressed. I always told people that what they were doing here wasn't sustainable just because of the ridiculous prices as far as real estate and whatnot. $1 million homes is like the norm you see now. That's like It's like nothing. And you can drive 12 minutes away from some parts of the city and get a comparable home or maybe even more space, definitely with more land for a third the price. So you can get a home. What you get for $1 million, you can get for 300,000 in PG County. Sometimes what you can get for $1 million in DC, you can get in PG County for 250. That's how, and like I said, we're talking about maybe 15 minutes away from certain locations. So that's how. That just goes to show you how much the prices of real estate has been jacked up in this area. So, with that, brothers and sisters, I thank you all for listening to the show. I just wanted to do something light today, but I wanted to stay consistent, and make sure that the show's done every week. I'm trying to think. If I don't do a show Sunday, because I think I do. No, no, no. Yeah, no, we'll be here Sunday. We'll be here Sunday. No, I don't have anything to do. We'll be here Sunday and we'll do a review and wrap up of Dr. Wells and Weekend. That's what we'll do. So that'll be the show. Again, be sure to get your tickets for the lecture if you're in the area, or for the live stream if you're not in the area. I got something, you know, I got something cooking, so it'd be something different from the other lectures that y'all have seen me do. It is focused very much on the black woman. And so, if you know a black woman, you are a black woman, or you care about black women, this is one you want to see. This is one you will want to get sisters that you know to check out. I think it is thought provoking and informative. And I feel like it is very beneficial um, to our community. And so again, I'll throw the flyer up again. Again, this Saturday, 2 p.m. Death and Rebirth of the Goddess Black Woman at Everlasting Life Cafe. Also live streamed for your viewing pleasure for those who are not in the city. So again, and in the description box, the link for tickets will be in the description box of this program, and also in the description box of the recent programs. And also, don't forget to check out the old shows, the reloaded episodes of the center. I have some more that will be coming up this week. And then I will probably start maybe 2 at most 3 times a week, like during the week, doing some short 1 hour, maybe 1 hour streams, probably during the day. So if that is something that y'all are interested in, let me know. If you have the type of job where you can listen online, I think that's something I'm gonna experiment with. If I get a lot of support with it, I'll continue to do it. If I don't get a lot of support with it, I won't. But be on the lookout for that. Probably late March, early April. But like I said, the re-uploads will continue until most of those shows are up. I think I have about maybe 10, 15 more of the old shows to put up. And if you man, what was I getting ready to say? I just lost my train of thought that quick. But anyway, you can go through the page and you can find all of those and listen to those, and for your listening pleasure and for your enjoyment. And Sister Vanessa says she can listen at work. All right, I appreciate that, sister. So with that, I'm going to get off and get work on this lecture some more. I will see you all Saturday. And with that, I say a BB for Hodie and straight black pride.